There's something new I want to try to do on my channel, and it's to review some movies that have a psychological effect on the actors and on the audiences. And this is a movie that does deal with probably the theme of paranoia, trust, guilt, fear, all those type of things, and how it could probably mess up a person. And the film that I'm going to discuss is Marathon Man with Dustin Hoffman. And the reason why I wanted to mention Midsummer as well is because Midsummer also deals with those themes, even though I've never seen the movie, but I have a clear understanding about what it's trying to mean and what both of these movies mean. But since I have not seen Midsummer, let's just get on to Marathon Man right now. Marathon Man is a 1976 thriller starring Dustin Hoffman, Laurence Olivier, Roy Scheider, and this movie is about a graduate student who was very affected by the death of his father. And his father committed suicide one day when he was younger, and is a type of trauma that lives with him even in adulthood. But one day, this graduate student gets kidnapped by this former Nazi criminal who's very obsessed with finding all these illegal diamonds, and he is probably the ruthless evil that could ever exist on this world. So when he gets caught, this Nazi criminal does horrible, horrible things to him, and he tries to escape by, practicing his running or just running away from it, which is why the movie's called Marathon Man, because it shows the escape that Dustin Hoffman's character wants to go through or wants to escape from in order to make himself safe. Back when I saw this movie, I really had no idea what to expect from Marathon Man. I knew it was a movie that is a classic with Dustin Hoffman and Laurence Olivier, and I know these two did a fantastic job in their performances. And after finishing the movie, I have to say that Marathon Man is very, very intense. I really mean it. It is a movie that is really intense and jaw-dropping, that it kind of messes with your mind a little bit, because it is a film where you see characters stuck in very, very frightening situations. Characters get betrayed, and then you all of a sudden find these revelations of characters that have been hiding these type of dark secrets, and once the revelation comes in, you just get surprised about, oh my goodness, this thing happened. And that's the thing all I can describe about Marathon Man, is just how intense this movie really is.
It's not safe.
Is it safe?
Is it safe?
No, it's not safe. It's very dangerous.
The best thing I can say about Marathon Man is the acting, and the acting is phenomenal. Dustin Hoffman does a terrific job of, making his character relatable and very vulnerable to situations. But the actor that really stood out for me was Laurence Olivier as a Nazi criminal, and he did a very, very fantastic job. And I was honestly scared of his performance, because when you really discover the character of Laurence Olivier, or the Nazi criminal that he's portraying, he has committed so many atrocities in the past and continues to roam around the streets committing more crimes, and this is a guy you really want to hate. And when he appears on screen, he is very unpredictable. He is very scary. He does a lot of awful things, and it's just like you don't know what moment he's going to strike. And seeing that Olivier was able to do that type of role, it just was like, whoa, he had to go through it. And I understand how difficult it is portraying a character like that, especially because of the things that character stands for. But other than that, those are the best actors in the movie, Hoffman and Olivier. An example of a great scene between Dustin Hoffman and Laurence Olivier would be the scene where Dustin Hoffman gets caught by Laurence Olivier. And that is the scene where Hoffman gets interrogated by Olivier, and Olivier is asking him this very scary line in the film, "Is it safe?" And once Olivier asks that question, he asks it more and more times, like, "Is it safe? Is it safe? Is it safe?" And once the question is being enforced to Dustin Hoffman several more times, the scene just builds intensity. There's literally no music, and without music, there's really no suspense. And you get that sense of realism, and you just get so terrified about what Olivier is going to do. And it's almost like, you feel as if you're in that situation when you're caught. And that's what the film does. It makes you feel very frightened about what can strike at you anytime. And it's also about how, how to be unpredictable and making all these type of thrillers. But that is a scene that is acted very well, and it's also a very famous scene between Dustin Hoffman and Laurence Olivier.
Is it safe?
Yes, it's safe. It's very safe. It's so safe you wouldn't believe it.
Is it safe?
The directing is also very well done in this movie. I was very impressed with how the director maneuvered shots and edited the film, and also making sure that the actors were blocked in scene to scene, and making sure that their scenes made sense from one place to another. And I also have a great admiration to how this movie used its environment, because the environment of this film is filled with paranoia, fear, silence, all these things that we are very scared of when we watch a horror movie or a thriller. And the director does an incredible job of making you feel as if something can strike at you any moment, and like, is someone lying about themselves, or is someone double crossing you? And basically, when you watch Dustin Hoffman's character go through that, you really do fear for the protagonist, and it feels as if he doesn't have anyone to trust but himself. And whenever he's in those situations, you actually have a fear of, like, will something bad happen to him? And that's how this film treats the protagonist. It really beats him up until he survives, until he becomes the Marathon Man.
Keep going, keep going.
What?
The clerk's dead. It's not safe.
The movie also does a great job of using the cinematography, visuals, and editing, and combining them into making this great environment, because mostly the filter of this movie has grayish and blue colors used, because it's trying to portray or reflect the tone of sadness, grief, and things that don't make sense in our lives. And when it has those type of colors, it really does make sense, and it tries to let people know that this is the movie's identity, that Marathon Man is a movie that has grayish and blue settings, because it's trying to reflect about sadness and what is going on within the mental chaos that we're going through. The only issue with Marathon Man is probably the first act, and the first act can drag a little bit, and it could probably be a bit boring for some people. Now, it's not like boring where you don't learn anything. It does do a very good job of setting up its characters and their motivations, and as well as what's to establish for what's going to happen later in the film. But I just kind of wanted more from that first act of the film. And I just wish it was a little faster and a lot more interesting. And it's really interesting, but I just wanted more. And that's just my personal opinion. But the second act of the film is really where the big plot happens, and that's where, the movie gets more intense and a lot more frightening. But that's just my issue. The first act can just drag a little bit. But nevertheless, I highly recommend Marathon Man. It is a movie that has a lot of psychological messages about paranoia, fear, mistrusting someone, or trusting someone, and basically about how these things can revolve around the silence of fear. And whenever you're around silent surroundings, it can mess with your mind mentally and physically. But that's what I had to say about Marathon Man. And because of all of that, I have to give Marathon Man a 9 out of 10.
Marathon Man.
And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I cannot wait to do more movie reviews very soon, and you guys are the best. I hope you enjoy watching this review, and be sure to stay around for more sometime in the future. So, thank you guys!